This episode of Hak5 is brought to you by Domain.com.
Hello, welcome to Hak5. My name is Darren Kitchen.
I'm Shannon Morris.
It's your weekly dose of technolust.
Trust your technolust. Oh wait, we say that at the end.
No, yeah. In fact, speaking of the end, we have some awesome announcements to mention at the end regarding awesome shows and us and hosts and cool stuff. So stay tuned to the end of the program. But for now, it's the open banter block where we mentioned that we will be playing with our dongles again.
Because that's what Darren does whenever other people are here at the office. He plays with his dongles.
This Realtek guy has been so much fun. Also, I just realized he spins really well. That's kind of what you want in a dongle, really. The Realtek guy. You've been getting a lot of awesome feedback on this.
I have been getting so much feedback. Yes, thank you to everybody who has been emailing us about everything from like SDR to, you know, the different frequencies and the actual perfect definitions of everything, because it's really been useful for me, and I've been able to learn a ton from you guys, so thank you.
Yeah, in fact, actually, it's kind of awesome that we're getting into radio in the software-defined way, because I swear the whole like ham radio scene needs an influx of younger people, and it's really cool because we're already hacker-minded in certain ways when it comes to the digital realm, but then like, boom, SDR finally makes all of that other cool stuff like more accessible to us, which is going to bring new blood into that community, and really, that community is some of the original hackers were like ham radio geeks making, you know, like before the phone freaks, before all of that.
That's true.
So it's very exciting. It kind of comes full circle.
I'm completely enjoying it. Like every second that I've been playing with this, I'm like, wow, you can do that? It's just interesting seeing what's going on in the air around you, like all the different wavelengths and everything. So
right, yeah.
Been totally getting into it.
So I guess you know what? Why don't we just get into it? Because yeah, I mean, we've only got one sponsor on this show, so we don't have to break it up. Let's just jump right in.
That's true. Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Full episode on YouTube. Yeah. All right. So as we have mentioned, all of these different DVB-T dongles, they're really great because they're so cheap. I mean, they're like $20.
$20 on the Hack Shop.
Yeah.
Boom.
And they're all software-defined radios. But why do they work? Well, similar to popular Wi-Fi hacking radios because they have a certain desirable chipset.
Like the Alpha with the what is it? The RTL-8187.
Yep.
Which is the same chip that we put in this guy because it does so much fun hackiness.
So many fun things.
So with thank you, Realtek.
So with this guy, we have the Realtek RTL-2832U. So the special thing about this chipset is that it transfers raw samples to the computer, and that means that it can be used as a host of open source SDR software, which we're going to get into today.
I am very excited about this. I mean,
Me too.
We're going to get into the RTL-SDR package, which is specifically for this inexpensive dongle. And let's go ahead and get into some of the common things that we can use it with. It's a whole package, it's a whole suite of little utilities that are specific to this guy. So let's go ahead and use the first one.
So pretty. Okay, so if you look at my computer.
Yes. Domo!
So what am I using right here? Well, this is called Pentoo.
Yay! We're going to get into why we're using Pentoo here in a bit, but it's a Linux, so as we do in Linux, let's get our terminal action going on.
All right. So interestingly enough, you don't really have to download any programs to be able to use your dongle with Pentoo. Everything's already built in. So I'm going to type in just a few little commands to give you an idea of how this works.
Ooh, before we get into the RTL-SDR ones, I think we should do an LS USB just to verify right off the bat. Because we want to make sure that we're actually using the thing that's in the thing.
No such file or directory. Uh-oh.
LS USB one command. So it's just like an LS, but it's an LS for your USB
Okay, so we have Intel Corp.
There it is. I see it at the bottom.
Realtek Corp 2838 DVB-T. That's it.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that it's there. Just because we want to make sure that we can actually test using this before we get into all the other fun stuff.
Okay, so how do we do an RTL test? So that one's really easy, luckily. All you have to type in is RTL_test. And okay, so down here it says this tool will continuously read from the device, the DVB-T dongle, and then report if samples get lost. So by samples, they basically mean the data that is coming from the dongle to the computer. If you observe no further output, everything is fine. So if I was running this on a different computer, or if I didn't have the dongle plugged in correctly, or if the USB connection was borked for some reason, then it would give me a whole bunch of packet losses.
It's going to show you your packet loss, which I actually discovered that you will run into this. This is important to do if, say, you're like me and you want to run, for instance, Pentoo or Backtrack or some other, or not Backtrack, Kali, some other tools that have the GNU Radio suite and other RTL-SDR type programs in there. You want to, say, run it and make sure everything's working. Well, I just did this in VirtualBox, because you guys know how I feel about VirtualBox. And yeah, lots of packet loss with that. So this is, I'm just going to throw that out there. This is something you want to use bare metal for, as we are right here with Shannon's laptop.
It's so pretty. So this RTL test is going to find out what tuner is in our dongle, and it's going to gain all the values that it'll support. So it shows me all those different gain values right here, all those different numbers. Oh, yay, they're so pretty. RTL-SDR is a basic IQ modulation recorder.
We're totally going to get into what that means later. For right now, we're actually just going to kind of focus on a modulation that most everybody is familiar with called FM. Do you know what that stands for?
Gee, I don't know, frequency modulator?
Yeah, as opposed to amplitude modulation or the other stuff. But
oh, I got it right?
Yeah, you did.
All right.
Totally.
Sweet. I'm learning.
Yeah. And so that's an awesome recorder. We're probably going to come back to that later. Yeah. But the beautiful thing about all of these is, you know, previously on Windows you were talking about some of these GUI tools, and they're great.
Yeah, they're fun.
I love me some Linux tools because you can pipe this thing into that thing and then set awk grep.
And I think that I will feel the same way as you do when I get more comfortable with Linux, which I have been with all my hack tips that I've been doing. Mm-hmm. So right now, for me, GUIs are perfect because I don't have all those different commands memorized.
Well, we're going to get into a nice GUI that makes it ridiculously easy to build radio applications in Python without writing any code. Just drag and drop. You're going to love that. Oh my God, but let's finish up some of the other tools that come with RTL-SDR. We talked about how you guys may be familiar with FM from back in the day when you would listen to the radio. And
yeah. On my little boombox.
I was thinking on the school bus.
Record stuff on tapes.
Z104. Yeah.
Y107.
96X.
Paul's in the background. 96X, man.
Except now we're in, are we in K-Town or are we in W-Town? Oh, right, because we're past the... Well, wait, hang on. This is actually kind of interesting because you grew up in Mississippi, in Missouri. Missouri is where there's this river.
Yes, the Mississippi River.
That's the one. And
it's very long.
Yes, it's very long. And then it's there's a city there.
St. Louis.
St. Louis, that's the one. There's the gateway to the west, as it were.
The arch.
And then everything west of that, the radio stations begin with a K, as opposed to east of that, all the radio stations begin with a W.
You're right.
Which is why over here we've got KPIX and all of that stuff. And back home, or back east, as it were, we have WHOR.
Mine just blown. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I know. Just this, that had absolutely nothing to do with this right now, but I think it's fun little trivia. And it has something to do with this one here from Missouri. Missouri.
That's really cool. Okay, so
anyway.
Should we get into our examples?
Yes, let's get into our FM example.
Okay, so this is really fun. It's kind of long, so just bear with me. But this is basically an RTL FM output example, so you can output it to your speakers. So I'm going to hit Control-C to quit out of my, my RTL test. So for my example, we type in RTL_FM, TAC F.
For frequency.
96.3 E6, and we'll explain what all this means at the end. TAC W, and then space TAC S. The S is lowercase that time, and then we type in, what is this, 200,000, so that's 5 zeros. And then we type in TAC R, 48,000, 000, TAC space pipe.
Yay!
Space.
What program is it going to?
A-Play. Do you know what A-Play is?
I believe it's something that has to do with ALSA.
48K.
Or audio play.
TAC F. I don't know. I just know speakers. Because reasons. Capital L, capital E. All right, so if this is all correct, I should be able to press enter and hear stuff coming out of my speakers.
Yeah.
You got it? Yeah. Yeah, I hear it. So it's very staticky, but you can hear some talking coming through. So it's obviously a radio station, but it's hard to hear exactly what's going on. So I'm going to hit Control-C so we can go ahead and abort that mission.
Well, we could, I mean, you know, we could use like a for loop or something to iterate this and go from 88.7 FM. I mean, obviously what we've done here is tuned into 96.3 FM. That's what that E6 is for. What, million? Because this is 96.3 megahertz?
96.3.
Right?
So that's basically the station that we're starting on.
Right. With these dongles, we can go down to like kilohertz. Like we can go really, really low. We could be a loafer. More on that later. I also like penny loafers.
Let's see, what else do we know actually in this command line? So RTL-FM is FM, frequency 96.3. What is TAC-W? Do you know what that is?
No, I'm not sure.
TAC-S?
It could just run the program and it would give us the params. So if you just delete everything after RTL_FM, I didn't check to see what all the params were before we started.
FM. Man?
Man, we could, no, you just hit enter. It should, I mean, if it's a good program, yeah. How about TAC help?
TAC help.
No, after the program. Up.
Help.
There we go. So TAC-W right there.
WBFM.
There you go. Okay, so it just sets the modulation type. Yes.
God, I love help pages. What else do we have up here? Let's see. It's TAC-S, sample rate. Oh, default 24K. Ah, okay, cool.
Well, all that stuff is really cool, but what I love here is that we can actually use this program. As you can see, we used it to pipe it into A-Play, but what that means is then we can use it in conjunction with just about anything else. For example, we could just save it to a file,
So let's do that.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to
need some wakas.
Type in basically the same thing, except at the end we're going to, instead of piping it to the speakers, pipe it to a file that we're going to call radio, because that makes sense.
Sure. And of course, we're not going to hear anything right now because it's all going to that file.
So I'll let it play for a few seconds.
All right, and then close. And if we do an LS, we should see that file.
LS.
There it is, radio.
Radio, there it is.
Nice.
Cool.
So now you should be able to just, as you would any other file, cat.
Ha!
In fact, if you cat that file, it's going to be all sorts of junk. So why don't we pipe the output of the cat
back to A-Play.
Into A-Play.
And we're going to use TAC-R 48K, oops, 48K, TAC-F, and then capital S 16 underscore capital L E. Press enter. There it is. Okay. I'm playing a radio. That's so cool.
I like it.
That's so awesome.
This is really neat because the whole host of different applications within this suite allow you to, again, do what we've been doing for years now with Linux and piping them into different things and making all sorts of cool stuff happen. We're probably going to come back to this, but I really wanted to talk about GNURadio, because it is really, really, really neat. GNURadio is kind of like a suite of applications, very similar to how this is a suite of applications specific to this Realtek dongle, but GNURadio is...
I changed the radio station.
Oh, okay. But GNURadio is actually really configurable for all sorts of different radios. It'll support a USRP, it'll support HAC-RF, it'll support all sorts of different software-defined radios, and it has like a whole suite of, like, I can't even begin to scratch the surface of the features, but I wanted to kind of just introduce you to it this week because we're going to dive a lot more into it. But I just wanted you to like get your toe in the water so you can see it and kind of be a lot more familiar with it when we actually start diving in deep. It is, I should really, really preface this, it is kind of a pain to compile. There are some scripts that make it a little easier, but we're still talking about hours to compile this stuff. So that's why instead of doing that on our distro of choice, which may be an Ubuntu or a Debian or something, we're actually going to go to Gentoo land. And that's why we're using Pentoo.
Pentoo!
So if you're familiar with Kali Linux and Backtrack,
I am.
Yeah, those are, as you guys know, those are hacking distros. They're focused on penetration testing for the white hats and black hats alike, and they're based on, say, Ubuntu or Debian. Pentoo is very similar to that, except it's based on Gentoo, which is awesome. And we didn't have to compile anything, which is really what's up. So go ahead and grab yourself a ISO of Pentoo, and as Shannon has done, just burn it to a USB guy, or I would say fire it up in your VM, but I have not had success with, maybe it's my machine, but I'm not having the greatest success in a virtual machine. So bare metal it is. But yeah, why don't we just go ahead and launch the GNURadio Companion.
Okay, how do we do that?
It's GNURadio _Companion. And then if you hit tab, it'll show you all the commands. And what we want is GNURadio Companion, like your cube.
Ampersand.
It's like a companion cube, except for radio.
8633?
Yeah, that's the process ID, because here it is.
Ooh, what is it? What is this?
This is...
Oh, I moved it.
all sorts of
Was
stuff.
that bad?
Actually, hang on, let's create a new file. And we're not going to save that. Okay. And Paul, so bring it in here after we run the program, because we didn't want to see the end of the thing quite yet. Awesome. So yeah, we type in GNURadio-Companion, ampersand, we hit enter, this pops up, and we're going to pick it up in just a moment. Picking it up right here. No, you're gonna drive.
Oh, I am?
I'll direct. Yeah, I'll give directions, you drive.
I don't have a license for this.
Well, you can receive all day long. You don't need a license.
Yeah!
That's the beautiful thing. Okay.
That was so dorky.
Yeah, it was.
So anyway.
All right. They're like roads. We don't need them where we're going. So what are we doing? GNURadio Companion is an awesome tool that allows you to create very complex programs quite simply without writing a line of code, just by doing some drag and drop. And we're really going to dive into this because it is kind of where all the fun stuff is happening. But let's just make the most basic and simple program where we just take the output of our dongle and visualize it.
Okay.
So go ahead and drag in our source. You're going to see you have all of these components on the right-hand side. You're going to see a tree.
Blocks?
Yeah, all these little blocks. Okay. So all of those blocks, you can like dive into any random one and hit the little arrow next to it, and you'll see that there's all sorts of these, like tons of stuff. But we need to add a source, and in this case, that's going to be our dongle. So if you go down to sources at the bottom, you'll see it right there.
Sources.
Yep, and grab the RTL-SDR source, because that's specific to our dongle, and just drag it. Plop it in there.
Oh,
hey,
okay.
check that out. Okay, cool.
Whee.
And it doesn't really matter where you put it or what you do with it, but we do want to double click on that little variable. You see that variable on the left where it says sample rate? Yes, go ahead and double click on that.
Okay.
And let's go ahead and set our sample rate to 2E6. That's for 2 million.
Right here?
Mm-hmm.
2E6.
Yep, and hit OK. And you'll see that the variable then changes to 2M for 2 million. There you go. Now double click on that RTL-SDR source that you just dragged in.
Ooh, it's all pretty and colorful.
Yeah, I know. And we've got a whole bunch of different stuff, and we're going to dive into what all of this means. But for right now, why don't we go ahead and set our source, our frequency right there, where it says frequency, and you've got 100 E6. Why don't you change that to 96.3 E6 for 96.3 megahertz?
3 E6?
E6.
E6, okay.
Boom, hit OK. That's it.
That's it, all right.
All right, so now we've already tuned it, our radio, to that, but now we need some way to see it, and so we're going to need an output. And we can put all sorts of cool stuff in between this, you know, high-pass filters, low-pass filters, all sorts of cool modulation stuff. But let's just actually get a representation of what that frequency 96.3 might look like. So go into instrumentation at the bottom.
Instrumentation.
That's the one.
Right there.
Yep,
okay.
and under WX, you're going to look for everything but the kitchen sink. No, you're actually going to look for an FFT sync.
FFT sync, right here.
FFT, yes.
Okay.
And then, this is the most beautiful thing. You want to connect your source output to your FFT input. It's kind of like doing a pipe in Bash. So click on that. Yep, you already got it selected. Now click on the next one. Boom.
Oh, so I click right there and then click right there. Okay.
And then all we have to do is build it. So go up to build at the top and hit execute. Build.
Build, okay.
And then execute. And it's going to ask us to save this, so call it, I don't know, Untitled 2.
Your mom. Because that's how I roll. Save. Okay.
All right. And it's executing.
Oh.
Hey, and look at that. We can actually see the signal. And if you go ahead and click that average over there, or I'm sorry, not average, but peak hold. Check that peak hold box. We're going to get into all this cool stuff about what an FFT even is. We can actually, what you're seeing is that radio station, a visual representation of it, if you will. But what is also interesting here is that if you scroll through the stuff at the bottom there, and scroll up just a bit, you'll see what we actually did. You see where it says topblock.py and all of this stuff?
PY for Python, right?
Yeah, it made a Python program out of this.
Oh my gosh, no way.
You can do all of that You basically can build yourself a radio program, and it creates the Python script for you. You never had to know a line of code. And this stuff is
so
infinitely
cool.
shareable and reusable, and now you can use it piping that stuff into other programs. So it is truly the best of both worlds when it comes to the GUI and the power of the command line and stuff like that.
Now, why can't I hear anything?
Well, because we don't have the output going to your speakers.
Oh.
Yeah.
But
But in the future, we're going to get to, like, we could send the output to both your speakers and an FFT plot and a waterfall, so you can see those pretty colors, and to output log to a file. And then we can go into that file later and then look for ones and zeros and stuff and try different decoding techniques to it.
Okay, so I'm going to close this.
So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh, I can't close it. I'll just minimize it.
Okay.
Oh, do you want to terminate? No! So I'll go in here. So if I change this to like 105 E6, okay. And then I guess I don't have to change anything there.
Yep, and then that button right there. Oh, this is the stop button because you're currently running.
Stop.
Mm-hmm. And then hit it again. That's execute.
Execute.
Boom. In fact, here, if you want to keep messing with it, go ahead and close this. Hit stop. Stop. And then close that.
Okay.
Okay, and then stop your program. Yep, it's stopped. Okay, now delete your WX GUI FFT sync, and then grab down here a waterfall.
Ooh.
And then connect the output of that to the input of the waterfall.
Out, in.
And then run it.
Execute. Do the thing.
Look familiar?
Cool.
And now we can see, hey look, two distinct radio stations side by side. How gorgeous is that?
Win.
Yes, I love it.
That is so cool.
Yay.
I love this stuff.
Feedback
this is so
at hak5.org is where you can hit us both up and let us know what you think of this, or just leave a comment. We are just enthralled with this kind of stuff right now, so we really want to hear your feedback. We've been looking at all sorts of other cool things that we can do with these, like, I don't know, what was that one where we can sniff cell towers? That was fun. So yeah, hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you think. We are definitely having fun with this.
Yeah, I'm loving this. Let's do more.
Cool. Well, let's take a quick break because when we get back, we're going to find out about trivia. It doesn't matter if you're into orthogonal frequencies or time division. When you have that killer idea, you need to snag yourself a domain name, and quick. And with domain.com's awesome domain discovery system and their easy checkout process, you're going to have your website up in no time, like minutes. Like seriously, I've done this before. It is wicked fast. I love the guys over at domain.com. I mean, I've told you guys before, they're affordable, reliable, easy to use. Have I told you they're also really fun to drink with and tweet at domain.com? I'm serious. It makes it a really fun place to do business. Shannon and I do business there because it's a fun place. And the guys over at domain.com, huge fans. They want to hook you up with the coupon code HAK5. It's really easy to remember. It's right there on my shirt. And it's going to get you an additional 15% off. So when you think domain names, think domain.com.
And now it's time for Meow Trivia Question. Last week's trivia question was, Meow, the first female computer programmers were called what, Meow? And the answer was Rosie's, Meow. This week's question is, what was the first well-known encryption machine, Meow? Answer at hak5.org/trivia for your chance to win some awesome Hak5 Meow.
So Russ, tell me about the Raspberry Pi over there.
Okay, so there's two Raspberry Pis, and currently what they're using is the Pi FM transmission fun little hack that's out there. If you go to RTL-SDR.com, you can read all about it from there. Highly promote the website. They're really awesome stuff. And they are generally the source of a lot of the things that we are promoting regarding SDR competitions, at least in my mind, because it gets people into ham radio stuff and into radio stuff in general. So what we are doing is we have a wide variety of different transmissions that are occurring and emanating into the space around us that represent a variety of different types of signal modulations, all analog in nature. But there's ways of encapsulating data as analog, and then you demodulate it at that point, and it goes, down the rabbit hole of Alice in Wonderland. But some of those challenges, in particular, are in short, just replay attacks. So if I could record it in one particular binary data stream, I can then convert it over into an analog signal and just hit replay like a VCR sort of thing.
Sure,
so for
the classic, bank heist, let's replay the CCTV camera footage.
That's one way to do it. And for the purpose of a CTF, it makes it portable, easily repeatable, and something that people can verify information against. And the source for a lot of this sort of stuff, since the SDR competition is kind of a brand new thing, was from my grandfather-in-law, K2RNF, who received a satellite weather transmission before the U.S. government had theirs up and running, built on his kid's swing set. For the antenna mast, and we were going through his records. We managed to find a signal modulation that he had intercepted from one of those weather satellite transmissions. We're looking to make sure that we can get that repeatable as a part of the challenges moving forward, because NOAA has, I'm not going to spoil everything for everyone, but a limited number of satellites that transmit using this neat little thing called APT, and there's a lot of fun in that. And if you can demodulate it, it's open out there as to how to do it. Go for it. And now we have things repeatable to do these sort of things.
This seems like an awesome way to get hackers into a totally different realm. I know, like Mike Osmond was just recently talking about signaling. These are awesome things that hackers are starting to adopt now that, I wouldn't say Wi-Fi hacking is passé or anything, but it's just we've already kind of grown to that concept of oh, it's in the air, you can grab it, you can do cool stuff with it.
Right.
So how does the average hacker get into hacking with SDR?
So I'm looking to involve SDR for a handful of personal reasons. One, more to the point, there's not a lot of ham radio operators in the newest generation. However, in the group of youngins that are coming into this realm, a lot of them have the mentality of the old school ham radio operators. So folks like Zero Chaos, he can certify people. So if you see him, harass him, get him to give you the exam so that you can get your license and your ticket and then start working with this stuff, because it's more than just receive. There's also XMIT as well that is of interest. We've already messed with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and a lot of the other stuff in the ISM bands, but there's a whole new world of possibilities that are out there regarding other transmissions and communications of interest that it's going to satisfy the ADHD of the community to no end. And if we can get more people not just involved in looking into these things, we could also get a whole bunch of influx of brand new people back in a ham radio operation again. It services the community's multiple pillars over and over. It's going to be awesome, and at least that's my grand scheme of taking over the world.
So if I just want to get started and I grab a Pentoo ISO and a Realtek SDR,
yes.
Can I recreate this with a Raspberry Pi and try to start intercepting stuff?
So this is XMIT for the purpose of doing the SDR challenges. I've put this together so you can do it in Windows and Linux. Very easily. There's a website, RTL-SDR.com, that has hint a lot of information regarding receiving information from a variety of radio transmissions and demodulating them. More importantly, we're used to the Wi-Fi stuff. You see a packet move across the way, you recognize it. Well, with the SDR sort of thing, a lot of it, what do you hear? And kind of like how Johnny Long said, what does a hacker see? I propose, what does a hacker hear? And in this particular case, if you hear it, your brain is going to quickly go, oh, I recognize that signal. You can make a reference, demodulate it, and then see other things.
You hear NTSC and tell that's what it is, as opposed to...
I would highly suggest you go to the RTL-SDR website and take a look at where they have the waterfalls for the different types of signals and the audio to go along with it. They're all very different, cool. And it works really, really, really well.
Thank you, Russ. I am inspired.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers.
Peace.
That just about wraps up this week's episode of Hak5. But before we get going, it's time for the Technologist photo of the week.
Yes, it is. And this one is from Malachi. So he started a new business over at kellerrobotics.com, and he sent us a couple of photos of his own 3D printer. So his goal is to create robotics kits to raise interest in robotics engineering for people of all ages, and I wish him much, much luck. I think that's so cool.
That is really, really cool.
I love 3D printers.
Yay!
So fun.
Drop us your photos over at feedback@hak5.org and use the subject line Technolist. It really helps us kind of sort through everything.
It really does. I just went through 700 emails.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I only replied to a few because I was just like, okay,
but we do read them.
Good idea.
Yeah, Jay. That's
J.
the keyboard shortcut in
Yep,
Gmail.
J.
Just J. Yeah.
So we got
hey.
some new stuff going on.
Yeah, we do. Well, why don't you go first?
Okay. Well, I just started hosting on Techzilla,
Woohoo!
a little show on Discovery Digital and revision3.com. Yeah, so I'm doing that with Patrick Norton, and it's basically a how-to and feedback viewer questions.
Anybody who's watching this
for
show,
all
they
sorts of
know
tech.
what Techzilla is. It's like our sister show.
It is. It's our
Yeah.
sister show. So
So,
now I'm
there you
on
go.
both of them.
Now you're on
I'm on both of them.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
What's up, sister?
And I'm also doing Coding 101 on twit.tv, and that one is all about the beginnings of learning to code in all sorts of different languages.
And what are you programming now?
C#. It's very interesting. Yeah, I'm learning a lot already. I was able to look at Dale Chase's code for Rev 3, and I was like,
You know what you can
dude,
do?
that's Python.
You could also load up ADS-B#.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, I don't know if the source is. I'm pretty sure the source is available. Anyway, it's called those programs ADS-B#
That's right, it was
and
coded in
SDR
C#.
Sharp are
Yeah.
called that because they were written in C#.
Ooh,
So,
so fun.
you know,
Yeah,
there's
so
that.
I'm having a lot of fun. I'm very busy. I'm doing 7 shows per week, just about. 2 of them are little
What?
mini shows, but
What?
yeah, 7 shows.
Little baby
But
shows?
you know, this was my goal coming out here. I was like, went back in 2008 or so. I was like, you know what? I'm doing podcasting, and I'm gonna do one show per day.
Whoa.
So now I'm doing it full time, like officially, and
Whoa.
it's super fun. I'm getting to work with lots of cool people, and I'm loving it, every second of it.
Yikes, that is quite a lot of shows.
It's a lot, but it's so much fun. I have so much passion for this. And
Nice.
yeah, so if you see me tweeting about like Techzilla and stuff like that, don't freak out. I'm not leaving Hak5. I would never leave this show. This is my baby.
Home base.
Yes, it is.
Yay,
It's
we're
home
all
base.
super proud of you.
Oh,
Congratulations.
I'm proud of me too. Yay!
Oh, what's the other stuff?
Meow.
We've got some meows. We have ThreatWire's back. That's good stuff.
Yay!
Hey, finally, that was. I can't get into it, but it was interesting, and
So
now it's
excited
back.
about that.
So it's a little bit different. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with it. Let's just call it beta for the moment. It's kind of like a reboot, but
Yeah.
it's ThreatWire NG, as it were, and tune in. All of this stuff is over at youtube.com/Hak5 or just hak5.org. So if you haven't hit up those places, you really should, because we've also got great stuff going on. In fact, Moobix will be here tomorrow.
Oh, he will?
Or no, day after tomorrow, actually,
How
to
long is
shoot
he
more
here?
Metasploit Minutes just for the weekend.
Yay!
Yeah, because Hak5 wants to bring you guys awesome stuff, and Moobix, as you guys
love
know, is
Moobix.
like a brilliant genius when it comes to the cow. And when I say the cow, I mean the Metasploit. The Moobix
you
goes
jerk.
the Moobix. No, don't tell him I said that. Anyway, what I'm getting at is Hak5 is supporting Moobix supporting Hak5, us being able to bring that kind of
this
stuff.
is awesome.
So Metasploit Minute, again on hak5.org or youtube.com/Hak5 is an awesome place.
Yep.
To get both
We brought
that
back
and
the
the
hack
ThreatWire
tips.
and the hack tips, which
Yep.
are Shannon is doing. So tune into those, because you're getting into continuing on some stuff with her favorite thing.
Netcat.
See that
Like,
you
am
need
I
a
tall
caption.
enough?
You need
When
like
I
a
slap,
caption
you
right
can't
there.
see
It
it.
just says netcat.
Netcat.
Yay, a cat's on the internet. Oh, awesome.
We're having tons of fun.
Thinking of on the internet, I got a video blog up on the YouTubes that you should check out too.
Ooh.
Because Paul, you should run a little teaser of the music video that it did for our good friend Prono Bozo.
That was cool.
I must say, it is a
Very cool.
most difficult thing. In fact, Paul, if you go ultra wide, I must say I love this hacker bag. Can you see this? This is the ultra tactical hacker bag that we have in the thing, and it is like
You
the
just
most
keep on putting more
ridiculously
crap on that
brilliant for whatever. I got my my pineapple in there, and now I got my penny board.
Nice.
Yeah.
Your penny board.
It's like the
It's so
cutest little
small.
skateboard.
It looks like it was made for a 5-year-old.
I am a 5-year-old in so many regards. So tune into that if you want to find out about all of the different tech that we used for the fun quadcoptery video stuff while you're trying not to run into Jeeps or be run over by
Why
Jeeps.
is there glitter on my laptop? There's glitter on my laptop. I just
Strippers.
noticed that, and I was like, what's going on? Strippers?
So you can hit us up at feedback@hak5.org. That is the best way to leave us some feedback, or just, leave a comment, because we really value your feedback. It definitely drives the show in so many regards. Let us know what you'd like us to cover.
And don't forget, Hack Shop. It's over at, what is it?
HAKshop.com. That's the place that supports the Smooch directly, and we truly appreciate you guys for letting us continue to live this dream.
dumb.
Sarah over there is waving because she's super happy that she has a job making all of you guys happy, sending out pineapples and rubber duckies and Uber Tooths and other cool schwaggity swag. So get your hacker gadgety stuff on. And when you're not doing that, you can follow us.
Hak5.org/follow.
Yep.
Has our Twitters and our Google Pluses and all the Facebooks.
Cool.
All of the things.
Well, with all of that, I'm Darren Kitchen.
I'm Snubs.
She is Snubs. Otherwise known as Shannon Morse. This is a quadcopter.
Ah! Oh God. I hate it when he brings these things inside. We need to get an exterminator in here or something. We bees.
All right. We'll see you next week. Trust your techno-lust.
Bye.
Are you recording? Stop eating so much cone bread.
Cone bread.
Cone bread. Are you still recording? You know what your t-shirt reminds me of?
What does it remind you of?
The Freak. The
what?
Phantom Freak. No, nobody gets it. Paul, you want to go uber wide?
Can I catch it? Catch it. Ah! Oh, got it! Ooh, so nice.
That was a fun one. The Phantom Freak. Somebody's going to get it and they're going to comment, and I'm
so
not going to feel
confused.
crazy.
Where's that from?
For sure, it reminds
What
me of the
is-
Phantom Freak.
What is Phantom Freak?
Fail. Fail, fail, fail. Blooper, blooper, fail. The dash. Hack. Not an underscore. Octave rope. I don't even know.